Hi guys, and welcome back to The Social Tune. And today, I'm here to actually celebrate my 500 subscribers, but since then, as you can clearly see, I actually passed 700 subscribers, which is insane to me. So yeah, obviously before we actually start the Q&A, I'd just like to say thank you, to all of you who've been watching from the very beginning, those of you who joined this past year, and those of you who joined in these past couple of weeks. Thank you so much for thinking that I guess my opinion is worth a damn. Because look, I've had a ball making these videos this past year, and I hope to continue doing them with better and better quality as time goes on. So fingers crossed, and we'll see what the future holds. But anyway, a couple of weeks ago I told you guys to ask me as many questions as you'd like, and honestly, you had more questions than I expected, but either way, I decided to pick out as many of them as possible. If your question isn't in this video, then it's because I either couldn't come up with a good answer for it, or I simply didn't feel comfortable answering it. That's all. But anyway, let's start out with the most important question of this episode by Invisibility: orcas or narwhals? To which the answer is narwhals, obviously. Orcas taste terrible. This is starting well. Next up, from Graveyard63, you had a bunch of questions, so let's just go through them as quickly as possible. How old are you? I'm 21. Have you lived in Ireland your whole life? No, in fact, I'm actually home for Christmas right now, and home for me is Belgium. I actually only moved to Ireland about a year and a half ago, but as you can also clearly tell from my accents and everything, I do have Irish heritage to begin with. What prompted you to start making videos about reviewing music? Okay, so, back in the day, I first started watching things like Nostalgia Critic, and that got me involved in Todd in the Shadows, and that got me interested in pop music in general, because growing up I never really listened to pop music much, and then the more I watched him, the more I got more of a sense of what constituted good music and bad music, and I came up with my own tastes and stuff like that. And then after that, I discovered another music critic who would go on to be a huge influence for me, and that was Spectrum Pulse. And believe it or not, at first I wasn't sure about him because I only saw his hits videos, and it took me a while to actually branch out to watch his other videos, and once I did, I was blown away by it. I mean, the music that he was talking about in songs like his top 50 songs of the year, I believe it was 2013, the year I checked it out, was just so much better. I didn't know music could be this good. And so that really got me interested in music. I started criticizing it, and then I accumulated so much knowledge about music that I started annoying everyone around me and alienating all my friends and family because I wanted to talk about music and I didn't have an outlet, and no one in my immediate circle was really all that interested in it. So eventually I just decided, fuck it, I'll just start a YouTube channel, and then if people want to watch me, then at least, you know, I've given them the option. So if they click on my video, I know that they actually want to hear my opinion. And so yeah, that's how I got into music criticism. Good question. Which leads us quite nicely into number 4. Who, apart from yourself of course, is your favourite music critic? I've talked about him enough. I've even talked about him in this video already. Spectrum Pulse, easily. I love his videos. I love his content. And I will admit, I've said this in the past, I think that he's had a huge influence on my own style of videos. And yeah, I've had several people call me a rip-off of Spectrum Pulse. I kind of got used to it by now, and I'd also honestly disagree. I think if you go back to my earlier videos, there's definitely more of an influence of him, but in the past year I feel I've branched off and developed more of my own style, including starting some of my own original series like Record Roundup. But on top of that, if you look at our top 50 songs of the year recently, compare the two, I noticed, and other people noticed, that there were a lot of similarities between our two lists. And what I noticed most of all, and I don't know how many people are going to bring this up, is that a lot of the picks we had in common were country songs. And I think that's what's key there. Because really, at the end of the day, there aren't that many music critics on YouTube who talk about country music. And even those who do often don't really love it as much as I do, or as much as Mark does. So I think that's really why there's so much overlap. It's the fact that we listen to country, we listen to the same type of country, and honestly we just do have similar tastes in music. But yeah, that would be my answer to that. Spectrum Pulse is easily my favourite music critic. Are you one day going to collaborate and meet with other music critics in real life? Honestly, I would love to. I've really enjoyed both of the collaborations I've done so far, and I would love to do more. In fact, I have one planned for sometime this month, so keep an eye out for that. But other than that, yeah, I would love to meet up with music critics in real life and actually collaborate with them that way. The only problem is obviously that I live in Ireland, which is a little isolated from even a lot of the British music critic community. So yeah, even though I would love to collaborate with them, you know, in real life, it might be a bit tricky, that's all. But am I up for more collaborations, even if it is just online? Then hell yeah, obviously. What else do you like to do in your free time other than making YouTube videos? Well, there's a couple of things. I love reading, I love spending time with friends, I love writing, but again, that's mostly for the YouTube channel. But most of all, I love acting. Acting has been my passion since I was 4 years old, so a good long while, and I've been making efforts to actually become an actor. In fact, I moved to Ireland in order to go to theatre school, and I'm still there. It's my second year, and I'm having a blast. I'm really enjoying it, and yeah, we'll just see where it goes. And finally, how did you come up with the username The Social Tune? Honestly, I just wanted something that sounded musical, and I came across the phrase social tuning, and social tuning is basically when you come into a new group of people, a new group of friends or a new group of acquaintances, you change yourself or adapt the way you act in order to fit into that group. And honestly, I just thought, well, you know, social tune, that sounds kind of catchy, The Social Tune. I like that, so I picked it, and I mean, I think it's catching on. But anyway, moving on to the next question from The Radical Douche. Hey man. My question is, what is or are the videos that you consider yourself proudest of? Okay, I actually like most of my videos. There are very few that I actually don't like all that much. But my absolute favorites, there are a couple. I would say definitely my top 10 worst hit songs of 2009. I think every time I look back on that list, it's always filled with so much passion. I went back to this year that I had fond memories of and discovered just how awful the music was that year, and tearing that to shreds was so cathartic for me. I had such a blast filming that, and I really do like the way it turned out. Other than that, for my track reviews, my favorite one is actually still my Sam Hunt Body Like a Backroad review. Personally, I think that it's the best edited, it's the one that's been most viewed, and I also think that it's the one that has my funniest joke, which is the little skit I do about, you know, I don't need no help taking off her jeans. I honestly really like that skit. I don't know, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that, but yeah, I find it funny, what can I say? And finally, and I'm really pleased to be able to say this, my review for Marianas Trench's Masterpiece Theatre, my favourite album. Obviously I'm talking about my favourite body of work, but even putting that aside, I'm so glad that I really do genuinely like the way my review for my favourite album turned out. I think that's genuinely important if you're a music critic for that video to go exactly as planned, and for me, it did. And speaking of music critics, my next question is from Kumarai Fang, and it is, what are some of your favourite video projects that you've done or been a part of so far? Yeah, that's really subtle, Kumarai. But yeah, I've enjoyed the collaborations I've done. I hope to do way more, like I said. And if you want to know my other favorite videos, then see Rodrigo's question. Next up from Lola Popente, what is your favorite Disney film? That's a tricky one. I have a lot of favorite Pixar films, and I'm not really sure which one to pick. I love Up, I love Inside Out, I love Ratatouille. If you haven't seen Ratatouille recently, go back and watch it. It holds up so well. But my favorite Disney film overall is still Mary Poppins. And not only do I have so many nostalgic feelings towards it, because this was a film I watched so much growing up, but I think it holds up remarkably well, and some of those scenes are so chilling, other ones are so touching, the songs are incredibly memorable, everything about that film is just perfection to me. That is Walt Disney's best work, in my opinion. And Lolo Papente actually had another question, along with Mosh Lef, aka Fefi. Next up from the Joker Fan 95, hey man. These are two questions that were asked a lot. One was, were there any songs that you found very difficult to cut from your honourable and dishonourable mentions when you were making top 10 lists for them? And the other one was, do you plan on making counter lists for certain years? Like, you know, I've already done the best hits of 2004, am I going to make the worst hits of 2004? And my answers to those are not really in terms of the honourable mentions and dishonourable mentions, because generally I won't cut any songs from those lists, and if I do cut them, it's because I really don't feel they're worth any rage or effort in general. And as for the counter lists, yes, I'm going to be doing as many top 10 lists as I can, and every single year is on the board. Every single year that has a Billboard Hot 100 list that I can refer to is on the board. And yeah, I hope to do many, many more of those in the coming year as well. Next up, from Yasser Khan, what was your first genre and how did you expand your taste into different ones? As in, how did the songs/albums appeal to you? Okay, so the first genre that I can genuinely say I discovered for myself that my parents didn't introduce me to was hip-hop. And like a lot of teenagers discovering hip-hop, I discovered it through some very typical acts like Eminem, or who was big at the time, Wiz Khalifa maybe. But I just remember back in the day I listened to a lot of hip-hop, and through hip-hop was really how I discovered the radio and the top 40 hits and pop music in general. And then from there, like I said before, watching Spectrum Pulse's videos was where I really started developing tastes for other genres of music, like several types of metal, more types of rock, which I got especially through watching ARTV as well. And even in terms of country music, I grew up listening to it. Country was really the genre that my parents raised me on. But in terms of independent country, that is something that I really kind of discovered by accident while I was exploring other types of music. So that's really how I got into those genres and expanded everything else from there. Next up, from the Radicalist Elephant, what is your favorite one-hit wonder in music? For me, it's Estelle. Okay, so any music critic worth their salt is going to at least mention Chumbawamba when this question comes up. And yeah, for me that is definitely true, but I want to be a little original, so let me think for a second. One is definitely Maniac by Michael Sembello. Maniac is one of my favorite songs of all time. I adore it through and through. And another big one would be Dexy's Midnight Runners, Come On Eileen. Definitely check out those songs and the bands in question because, yeah, they really deserve the attention. Hediafire47 asks me, what are your thoughts on repetition in music? I am not a fan of it. but seriously, putting aside that catchphrase on my channel, I actually don't mind repetition when it's used either for a reason or the melody is good enough for you not to even notice it, which does happen a lot. A lot of pop music is based on repetition, but you can overlook it as long as it's not egregious. That's my final opinion on it. He also asks, top 3 best and worst years for music in the 21st century. Ooh, I would have to say for best, I have to pick 2002, 2012, and I'm going to say 2015. And for worst, 2005, 2009, and 2016. Next up, Tafa Nadir had a number of questions. How difficult is it for you to separate the art from the artist, and at what point does your opinion on the person affect their art? Okay, so this is a bit of a tricky one. As you all know, certain allegations have come out against Brand New recently, and yet I still put 2 of their songs on my list of the top 50 songs of 2017. And honestly, yeah, I stand by those songs being amazing, and I don't regret putting them on the list. In my opinion, a person should be judged all you like. If someone has done something terrible, they should be held accountable. But I'm not going to say that that makes their music automatically bad. If a song is good, I'm still going to praise it for being good. I don't necessarily have to give props to the artist, but it doesn't mean that I like the song any less. One name that obviously comes up a lot for me in this discussion would be Chris Brown, but thankfully his music sucks anyway, so even though there is a certain part of me that will never quite forget just what a terrible human being he is, most of the time I can put aside my feelings for him and focus purely on the music and just how clearly terrible it is on its own. And finally, if we're talking about where I can't separate the two, then Kodak Black, prime example, a guy who constantly brings up what a terrible person he is and shows what a terrible person he is in his music, which I could say the same for Chris Brown if I'm being honest, so that would be my answer to that question. What's your favorite TV show? Oh, so many. I watch way too many TV shows. Even in the past year, I've seen all of Smallville, all of Friends. I watch way too many shows, guys, and recently, at the moment, I'm watching The IT Crowd. and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, both of which I'm loving. I really am. I also finished Firefly recently. I watched Doctor Who. I watched Gravity Falls. I watch so much television. If you have any more specific questions on those shows, then definitely ask about those in the comments, because I will probably have an opinion on them. And finally, what do you think of the EP Something Old, Something New by Marianas Trench? I mean, obviously it's an EP. It's, I believe, only 4 songs, but obviously one of those 4 songs is Pop 101, and that song will always have a really dear place in my heart for being the song that really introduced me to my favourite band. So yeah, I really like the EP. I like all 4 songs on it. That's about it. Next up, from Van West, has a song ever made you so mad that you have broken something? Honestly, no. I've wanted to break things, and I felt like breaking things, but I've never actually got to the point where I've broken something over a song. I've punched certain things, I have hurt myself doing those things, but no, I don't think I've ever broken something. Next up, from Fiona and Dougald McWilliams, hi, and what is your, and my question is, do you... And your question is, hi, and what is your, and my question is, do you like Melanie Martinez and Marina and the Diamonds? Okay, go watch Your Grammar Sucks with Jack Douglas. I think you could learn something from it. But yeah, to answer your question, I do like Marina and the Diamonds. I think that she's really talented, and from what I've heard, she has a gorgeous voice and great writing, and I especially liked her last album, especially that song, Better Than That, which actually made my list of the top 50 songs of 2015. But on the flip side, I can't stand Melanie Martinez. Everything about her just makes me physically cringe. I hate her voice, I hate her content, I hate her lyricism, I hate her fucking awful videos. Oh yeah, my biggest regret is not putting her 2015 album on my list of the worst albums of that year, because returning to it, it sucks. I don't know, maybe you like it, and if you like it, that's fine, but personally, I can't stand her in any sense. Next, from Nia Petal DeCoin, what songs can you not get through without tearing up? Oh, so many. I'll be honest, I'm a pretty emotional guy, and there are certain songs that will always get me. Praying by Kesha and Bottle by My Bed by Sunny Sweeney from last year definitely stand out, but other than that, again, there are so many. Halfway Home by Laurie McKenna. So many songs that are so powerful, and most of them, if I'm being honest, are country songs. I think country music has so much power to it. But even if we're looking at other genres like hip-hop, Make 'Em Purr by Sage Francis. If you have not heard that song, it's on YouTube. Go listen to it and watch the video with it. I guarantee you will get a little choked up. Next up, from Andrew McEakin, and I included this for a very special reason. Do you play video games? And if so, what kind of games do you play? Also, did you get a new microphone? Yes, I did get a new microphone, but on the subject of games, here's the thing. I'm not much of a gamer. I game casually, but I never really feel the urge to play a video game. My brother would be more the gamer of the family. But with that said, if you want to see what I am like when gaming, then I actually have a secret channel called Bro Out that I am on with my good friend Peter, and the two of us basically play games and ramble. There's only like 6 or 7 videos on the channel, and none of it I would consider good content, and if he considers it good content, then hey, what does he know? But yeah, if you want to see me unfiltered playing video games with one of my best friends, then definitely check out that channel. I'll be linking it in the description. And hey, if you want to subscribe, I have no idea when we'll next be uploading, but you know, sure, why not? Next up, from Nameless Anonymous, which is a great username, who is your celebrity crush? I don't know if I have one at the moment. Believe it or not, it used to be Ariana Grande. I thought she was the hottest thing to walk the planet back in 2014. But to be fair, I was 18 at the time, so yeah. But honestly now, would it be weird if I said Camila Cabello? Because, yeah, I know, I've said some horrible things about her musically, but with that said, she's got a lovely smile, what can I say? And hey, Havana was good, and I liked Crying in the Club as well, so even musically she's getting better, so I guess if I had to pick one, yeah, I'll pick her. Why not? Next up from Sayak5G, why did you start a YouTube channel, and do you have any advice for starting YouTubers? As for starting a YouTube channel, I refer you to earlier in this video, but for starting YouTubers, this is very important. When you're starting a YouTube channel, make sure that you are making content you love. Because if you make something you dislike and people do actually like it, you may be forced into doing something that you hate over and over again just to appease your viewers. So really make sure that when you post a video, you like it. But also, if anyone responds to it negatively, you'll be able to take that better because you're satisfied with your work. And that's the most important thing. You should judge whether or not your work is good. Whether other people like it or not, that's beside the point. Will that make you successful? Probably not, but will you enjoy it? Yeah, a hell of a lot more. Next, from Alex Swift, favorite progressive rock, I'm assuming band, Porcupine Tree, that's pretty easy. And right after that we have Martin Rusev asking, favorite artist in rap, hip-hop, and pop music. Rap and hip-hop artists, I love Run the Jewels, obviously they are the best in the game at the moment. Individual artists, you know, I keep coming back to him. Open Mike Eagle, one of the absolute best. He might be my favorite. I don't know, but you know, he's definitely in my top 5 along with other artists like A$AP Rock. And if we're looking at the mainstream, Kendrick, king of the game. And as for pop music, you know what? If I'm picking band, obviously easily my favorite band of all time, Marianas Trench. And if I'm picking artist, I'm going to say Kesha because I can't think of anyone else right now. And he also asks, do you plan on ranking the year-end list for 2017? To which the answer is no. I've had a couple of people ask me this, and honestly not. I think that that's best left to people who specialize in it, like, I think the Double Agent started that, didn't he? I believe he started that trend, just like the top 20 ranked videos. And you know what? He does it well, and if I did it, A, it would feel like I'm copying him, and B, I don't think I'd be able to say anything interesting or anything more than what I've already said in my other videos, so yeah, no, that's not going to get made. Next up, from the very notorious Nick Cruz, or at least notorious in my comments, have you ever visited any countries aside from Ireland? Yeah, obviously grew up in Belgium, but growing up in Belgium and being on the continent, as they say, I've visited many European countries, from Italy to Switzerland to Germany to the Netherlands to France, formerly the UK, Croatia, so yeah, many different countries. I like traveling. And do you prefer the 2000s or the 2010s when it comes to music? I think it's too early to say. I like 2000s music, but I don't think it's perfect, even if a lot of the early 2000s stuff is really marked by nostalgia for me. But with that said, I said it before and I'll say it again, I think modern pop music is absolutely fine, and I think there's plenty of songs that will be considered classics years from now. And yeah, I know it's difficult to say that looking at the music now, but yeah, I strongly believe that in 20 or so years from now, we will look back on many of the songs that even charted this past year, like Shape of You and Despacito, and hold them up as classics, whether you like to admit it or not. Next up, from both Beatles Fiend and Brandon Crocker, sorry man, favorite movie, Whiplash, from 2013, I believe. If you haven't watched Whiplash, check it out. Now, from Chris Nizirorera, have you ever thought about discussing the Canadian Hot 100? No! Okay, I know that people say that I'm a copy of Spectrum Pulse, but no, I'm not going to stoop to that level, because what would I even say, and what reason would I have for checking out the Canadian Hot 100? Just stop it. From Cat DM, best concert you've ever been to? I don't go to enough concerts. I wish I could go to more concerts. Oh, that's tough. I would have to say the Kendrick Lamar concert that he did in Dublin in, I believe it was 2016 or no, it was 2016. It was wonderful, and being part of a crowd that knew every single word to songs like Mad City was incredible. There was such an energy. I absolutely adored it. With which other YouTubers would you like to collaborate? I'd like to collaborate with pretty much anyone. There's very few people that I would turn my nose up to in terms of, collaborations. Obviously, one question that a lot of you probably have is, would I like to collaborate with Spectrum Pulse? Honestly, I'm not sure, because on the one hand, yeah, obviously working with Spectrum Pulse, who is, my biggest influence, would be huge, but on the other hand, would we work well together? That is an important question. When you're going to collaborate with someone, you need to have a certain chemistry with said person, and you don't always have that. And personally, I'm not sure. Maybe I'd meet the guy and have no idea how to interact with him. So, yeah, I'm not sure about actually collaborating with him, but, I'm open to it. And like I said, I'm open to collaborating with pretty much anyone. Next up, from Niels uit het Natuur. When and why did you get into country music? Like I said, my parents raised me on a lot of country, like Johnny Cash, and I discovered a lot of it on my own after the fact. And 2, what album do you consider to be underrated by a lot of critics? You know what? I'm going to say 24K Magic by Bruno Mars. Go back to it. It's actually a lot of fun, and even I underrated it back in the day. Going back to it, it is so much fun, and everything about it is just slick 70s, early 80s cool. I know that a lot of people have problems with Bruno Mars for some reason, but yeah, I love the guy, and 24K Magic is, in my opinion, his best album to date. From Matt in the Wall, since you didn't bring it up in either of your 2007 lists, what are your thoughts on Welcome to the Black Parade by My Chemical Romance? Okay, here's the thing. I'm not a big fan of My Chemical Romance. I have listened to them. I appreciate their aesthetic. I don't dislike it. I do like it, but I don't love it as much as their fans do. And I will say their fans are the worst of the worst kind of people. But The Black Parade is, in my opinion, a really good album. It's definitely great. I wouldn't quite call it a classic for me, but I can still appreciate it. But with that said, Welcome to the Black Parade isn't my favorite from the album, and I don't know, it just doesn't have an effect on me in the same way it does on many other people. So yeah, that's my piece on that. Also, what are your political views? Yeah, maybe when I reach 10,000 subscribers, I'll answer that question. Next up, from Ruby Rosdill. What is a highly praised album that you consider to be overrated? There's a number of them, but honestly, in the past year, probably the one that baffled me the most was Quelle Chris's Being You Is Great, I Wish I Could Be You More Often. It's highly critically praised, and many people love it, but I just can't get into it. I just don't get it. Maybe it's too weird for me, but I don't know. I've liked other rappers like him in the past, and I do like Quelle Chris on other projects, so I'm not sure what it is, but it just doesn't click for me. What can I say? Charles Dickerson asks, what's your opinion on Daughtry, Linkin Park, Green Day, and Three Doors Down? Daughtry is one of the most bland bands in history. Linkin Park, I didn't grow up with, but I do like parts of them. Green Day is the only band from these 4 that I can legitimately say I really love, with 1 or 2 bad albums thrown in there, but hey, what you gonna do? And Three Doors Down, they're okay, I guess. From Kate O'Dwyer, who is your favourite Irish artist/band, and was there any particular moment you remember from your childhood when you got into music? Here's the thing, as a kid, I always loved music. I loved listening to it as much as possible, especially when I was in the car with my parents. And the real turning point where I really started taking it more seriously and I started loving it on another level was when I started watching Tom and the Shadows, and you know the story from there. And as for my favourite Irish artist/band, I didn't listen to much Irish music growing up, if I'm being perfectly honest, so I'm gonna say Hozier, because I saw him live not too long ago, and he was incredible. His self-titled album is amazing, and I can't wait to hear more from him. From JT the Beast, yes, I plan on doing best and worst lists for, in his case, 1994 and 1998. I don't know when I'm doing them, but they will come around at some point. But the reason I included this was that he said, If you do end up checking them out, I recommend you use songs from both the year-end Hot 100 and the year-end Airplay charts, as those years have some pretty significant hits that did not chart on the Hot 100 due to the chart rules at the time. Okay, look, I've had this question a lot, and no, I'm not going to change it. For a song to make these lists, it's going to have to be on the year-end Hot 100, because not only will it mean that I have a set amount of songs that I can choose from, but also if it's on the list, then no one can argue the fact as to whether or not it was a hit. So no, I will always stick to that formula. And finally, our last two questions, we have Not Real Music asking, what are your career aspirations and is it music related? Like I said before, I want to be an actor. That's my dream, and I don't know, best case scenario, I will be a famous Hollywood actor who has so much money that he doesn't even have to act in films anymore and can just act on stage like he's always wanted. And worst case scenario, I end up working some kind of temp job, I suppose, and never become an actor or achieve my dreams. But at least I get to keep doing this. And finally, from Alterity, do you ever see yourself making a Patreon like The Double Agent or Kumarai Fang? Honestly, not really. Not only do I not really care if I make money from this, because I have got some ad revenue, but I haven't collected any of it. But on top of that, if I had to do this on a daily or weekly basis, if I felt that I had to do it and that I had an obligation to people, I wouldn't enjoy it. It's that simple. Whenever I'm sitting down to film something or write something, if I ever sit there and think, I don't want to do this, then I just don't do it. Because I never want to get to a point where I don't enjoy making these videos. I love making these videos so much. But if it ever feels like work, then I'm worried that I won't feel the same way. So at least for the foreseeable future, no, I don't see myself setting up a Patreon account. But with that said, thanks all of you for all of your questions, and hopefully I'll have enough material for the next Q&A video, which, looking at my subscriber count, won't be too long from now. It'll be when I reach 1,000 subscribers, so see you guys again then. But yeah, in the meantime, obviously I'll keep up the videos. You can expect another one in the next few days, hopefully. But please subscribe so you don't miss a thing, although if you're here, I assume you are subscribed. But anyway, until the next time, leave a like if you enjoyed, and I'm Finn, and this is The Social Tune signing off, and this outro is terrible. Anyway, see ya.